Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Sanderlanche podcast. Today, we are talking about the Emperor's Soul, Day 12, Day 17, Day 30, and Day 42. Yes, those are in order. They're just, they skip a few in there. Wherein we learn more about forgery in general. Vrava shows up and makes Shai an offer that she would really like to refuse. We test some stamps on Gautona. It's a scene that I enjoy a lot, actually. And there's a lot of introspection. I mean, this is a story all from one person's perspective, so far at least, where she's just sitting in prison basically the whole time. So it's kind of an introspective sort of thing. Anyway, I'm Data, and with me is
Dak,
Joe,
and Jamie.
So yeah, four more days this time. Hang on to something, everybody. The Sanderlanche is about to begin.
I'm not myself, I'm not somebody else. I'm not myself, I'm not somebody else. Don't think of what it's cost me, it was all for a cause. And now it's working inside. I am a perfect copy of whatever I was. Something I don't recognize.
So yeah, what did you guys think of the next 4 days in the life of Wan Shai Tong? Wan Shai Tong? No.
Wan Shi Tong was from Avatar, dude.
Yeah, no, that's a whole different.
Wow. I thought you said you liked this story. What's going on?
I do. I don't know. My brain is. I'm a little bit out of it. Her name is Wan Shai Lu. Okay, what did you guys think of these 4 days, which covers, I guess, actually, I'm sorry, like 30 days worth of
I was
time.
gonna say this covers a solid month. It's, like, this is pretty good. I feel like I've wrapped more in my head around how forgery works now through all these explanations, which is cool because like that first section, not gonna lie, I was a bit like, okay, I think I get it, and then I read this and I'm just like, I did not get it at all. So yeah, cool to see how this all works. I really enjoyed that. I loved seeing Gautona as she was putting the stamps onto him and like his reaction to it all. I think that was probably my favorite part, just seeing it in action like that. It was just a fun read. Like, not a lot of action going on this time, but really, really interesting stuff. So I enjoyed that. I want to know what Gautona's motives are, because it seems, like Shai brings up, like, okay, you pushed the Emperor into becoming the Emperor, and then he hated you. So what's the deal here? So yeah, I want to see more. That's all I need.
He's like, he continues to be the one guy that she can't quite get a beat on.
Yeah.
Which is like, man, once again, is he going to be like the secret bad guy since he's the one she can't figure out? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, it's like the one she can't get a beat on. There aren't really that many characters. You got her, Vrava, Gautona, Zhu, who's just kind of like, I hate you, I want you to die, and the Blood Sealer, who we haven't really seen much of.
I take pleasure in gutting you, boy.
By trapping her in a room, he's really basically made a ship in a bottle of this short story. So there are characters that she's interacting with, but it's pretty limited, which I guess works for what he's written here.
Oh yeah.
I would say it's interesting. The forgery stuff's really cool. I wish there was like a whole story revolving around that as the main magic system. I think that'd be really interesting. Or even like some kind of cross world war where like all of these different magic systems are coming into play. Because I feel like we're gonna kind of want more at the end of this short story, but maybe not. Maybe it'll be fun and it'll be enough. Maybe too much of a good thing is possible in this scenario. So.
They're
but yeah,
forge so much stuff.
there's gonna be so much forgery. It's gonna be like a hall of mirrors, and just like you think it's going one way, and then there's like twist, and then before you know it, your back's all messed up because you twisted it a bunch. But yeah, like I'm really enjoying the tidbits we're getting, and I do feel like this go round in these chapters, the explanation of the magic system was a little exposition-y, because it's basically like a guy being like, well, I mean, I just don't understand how this stuff works. And she's like, okay, let me tell you. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. I'm interested to see how this ends up. So
We're still kind of in the I don't know, I guess we're in the middle. She's a third of the way through her 100 days or whatever, a little more than that actually. But it's hard to picture where it's going to end up exactly. I guess there's not that many possible ways. Maybe it's like she succeeds, she doesn't succeed, she pulls some trick.
Yeah, I liked what we read. I liked to see a little bit more of the forgery and a bit more of the explanation of, how it works. Yeah, it was a bit exposition-y, but I still really liked it. I thought we had enough information in there that sort of made it worthwhile. I think, yeah, on some level, because the stories that we've read so far have been quite involved and obviously a lot longer, I'm looking for more information. I'm hungry for more information, but yeah, we are halfway through it now, and it is a short story, so it's not going to be super deep from where we are now. But it's good. I enjoy the interactions with, even though they're limited interactions with other characters. Like Galtona's a bit cool. I think there's definitely more to him. Yeah, and the interaction with Frava as well. These two, they're obviously they're named characters, so we're going to have a bit to do with them over the course of the story. But I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. I'm looking forward to seeing a bit more of the forgery, and my mind is racing a little bit on how she can forge things to get her way out. I'm sort of more interested in what her escape plan would be than forging the Emperor's soul. So, but yeah, a bit of fun. I liked it.
That's the thing, right? It's like, okay, yeah, all the stuff about the job you're trying to do, but how are you going to not die?
You're really running out of time to find out the purpose and the soul of all the objects that are available to you.
Okay, I guess let's get into these chapters, these days. So we start out with Shai converting her desk into something more comfortable, or her table, I don't know, whatever. And I don't know, is this the first time we see a soul stamp actually doing something in the book? Or in the story, rather?
So?
Yeah.
I mean, she talks about the pottery after she turns it back.
Oh, that's true.
Kinda, we know.
So it's interesting. It sinks into the material, and then you twist it, but it doesn't blur the ink, and it leaves this perfect seal behind. And according to her mentor, at that point, when you were administering the seal, it's touching the object's soul, not its physical presence. And the thing transforms from dull, gray, splintery cedar into a beautiful, well-maintained, with silver inlay and all this fancy stuff. And Gautona's like, what the hell was that? She's like, well, I'm tired of getting splinters. And she settles back in her chair, and it creaks, and she thinks, you're next, chair.
Just hates everything in her cell.
Well, can you really blame her? I mean...
Oh, no. Not in the slightest.
Nah,
but
I hate creaky chairs, too. It really gets on my nerves. I'm just like, I'm like, oh, God. I'm going to have to throw this chair away.
I just like the idea that every time Galtona comes into the room, there's something else that's new there. It's like,
yeah.
Where did you get that? What is that? I'm really annoyed by everything you do, but I need to know why.
The first time it was the pot. It's like, did you get a vase from the hall? Like, what's... it's great, yes. Every time there's something new to be grumpy about.
Where'd you get a Tyrannosaurus statue?
I forged the history of this chamber so that Batman used this as a bat cave at one point. The giant penny wouldn't fit, though, so...
Yeah, if the giant penny wasn't believable, the skeleton was, but
exactly,
it's not the penny.
And he's annoyed. Like, wait, you've been working on this instead of, your job, the reason you're here? He's like, what? Carving helps me think, and I am working on your problem. Shut up. And she has to explain to him why this table thing was simple and the soul is not, basically. And these carvings and inlays, those weren't there before. She's like, okay, well, I mean, maybe I added a little bit, but...
Also, I like how he needs that explained. Like, despite not understanding how the magic works, it's like, dude, don't you understand that a table is a lot less complicated than a person?
Well, and he kind of says, he's like, I get that, but I don't really get that. I don't remember if he even says it here, or if that's in that next part where he's getting tested on. But he does kind of say that at some point.
Yeah, I do like that they get into the she starts talking about the three realms. So I'm like, oh, so this like these forgery people are very aware of the three realms. That's cool.
Oh, and we get another quick reference to Svorden. That's where the table was from, a gift from an ambassador to the previous emperor. So,
yeah.
But apparently relations with Svorden not good right now.
Yeah, It was pretty metal when he delivered the gift. He like appeared out of nowhere and then killed a guy to disappear.
But I also like the note where she's like, the maxim of good forgery improves slightly on the original, and people will often accept it over the original because it is superior. Yeah, and then okay, so this is where Gaton is like, I don't see how this could have taken hardly any work at all. Clearly, it has to be simpler than the whole soul thing, but both seem really crazy to me. And that's when she starts to try to describe to him the whole thing, and she starts comparing it to the wall first. Like, why couldn't I just make a hole in the wall? Why would I need to know all the stones to transform the whole thing? He's like, I don't know, actually. That's a good question. And then we get into the realms thing that Joe was mentioning. And one of the great things about this story is it is the probably simplest and most straightforward explanation we get of how these three realms work. And I don't even know if what she says is 100% correct across the whole Cosmere, but it's a lot of it seems to be, and it really, she gets to the matter really succinctly and kind of lays it out.
Yeah, because I'm sure Brandon was like, I'm tired of people asking me about this. I'm just going to put it in here, and if they want to read it, they can read it.
And I love that she's like, so, okay, everything exists in these three realms. And he's like, okay, hold on. I understand that you have these like ridiculous pagan superstitions, but I don't believe that. And she's like, right. Yeah, you worship the sun, or actually 80 suns, believing that even though each one looks the same, a different one actually rises each day. Right, yeah. That makes way more sense.
So is there a year, I
I
guess
would-
80 days? Like, that's
I
their
don't know.
revolution around the sun, maybe?
Good question. No clue.
I also am really interested to learn about that. Like, that sounds interesting to me. Like, yes, okay, forgery stuff, magic, like, I like that. But also, 80 suns. I really want to know more about why you think 80. Also,
Yeah.
why so many? Like, in Mistborn, there were so many religions, and then now you've got 80 suns. Oh, Brandon, you don't do things by halves, do you? They're all huge.
80 is such a weirdly specific number. I agree. It's like, why though? I want to know. But she's like, okay, yeah, I get that you believe that, but if you want to understand forgery, you have to. The realms are important. He's like, okay, fine. So the longer an object exists as a whole, the longer it's seen as a single thing, the stronger its sense of identity becomes. The table's made up of different pieces of wood, but we don't think of it as different pieces of wood. We think of it as one table. So that's the way we see it. That's the way it perceives itself, basically. And so the wall is the same way. It wants to act as a whole wall. And he's like, the wall wants to be treated as a wall. Yeah. So the wall, you're implying the wall has a soul. And she's like, yeah, everything does.
Like massive Theseus' ship sort of parallels here.
Yeah, that's true. And then we get into the kind of stuff we really hadn't gotten any clue before this about how exactly forging the Emperor's soul is going to work. Like, what the hell are you going to do? She needs a lot of detail. She's like, hey, I have 7 reports saying the Emperor's favorite color is green. Do you know why that's his favorite color? And Gatona says no. And she's like, yeah, me either. I think maybe it's because of this. Because his brother, who died when he was 6, was fond of it, and he latched onto it. And maybe there's such nationalism in there, too, because he's born in this province and the flag is green. And Gatona's like, you have to know something that specific? And she's like, yeah, and 1,000 other things exactly as detailed. And I can get some wrong. I probably will get some wrong, but most of them hopefully won't matter. It'll just make him a little bit off. But each person changes every day anyway, so it's kind of... Yeah, and that makes me think, it's like, does it matter why your favorite color is your favorite color? Like, if you suddenly had a different reason but still the same favorite color, would it change your life?
Maybe what you associate with that color, but that's more of an internal struggle, which I don't think is there. I mean, unless his internal struggle of why his favorite color is essential to his core identity. Like, green is his favorite color and that's like the whole reason for his existence. I don't know that it's, super important.
I have said before that my favorite color is purple and my favorite Ninja Turtle is Donatello, and I don't know if one of those led to the other, and if so, which one.
Yeah.
Like, do I like Donatello because I like purple, or do I like purple because I like Donatello and he was purple, or are they unrelated and just coincidence? I don't know.
Yeah. And if
That's
that's
awesome.
the case, does it matter
Yeah.
that you like Donatello and you like the color purple? Like, are either of those things essential to what makes you you?
Yeah, so you kind of get why she's like, some of the stuff I'm going to get wrong, but it won't really matter
Yeah.
that much. But if she gets too much wrong, it won't be close enough to his actual soul to work.
Right. Now, if she was doing a soul for Batman and then she took away his fear of bats, like didn't know why he was afraid of bats or didn't know that he was afraid of bats, then that would probably be an issue.
See, that'd be counterintuitive, right? You're creating a soul for Batman. You're like, afraid of bats? No, of course not. He's Batman.
Yeah, he's Batman. Why would he be afraid of bats?
But she's like, I assume that if you have to restamp the Emperor every 15 minutes, it's not really going to work. And he's like, you assume correctly. And she explains that, like, she's done this for herself before, but it's way easier for herself. She knows her own history. She has an idea of, like, why she does what she does. And the little bits you can tweak to make things different. The moments in her life that it would be easy to take another path, basically.
It's almost like it would be easy if she had been commissioned by the Emperor to make his soul stamp or essence marks for him, with him. Then that's the thing you could totally do. But to do it in his absence is near impossible.
Yeah, and I think she says it in that later chapter because she's like, I would test these on the Emperor for best effect, but he can't really answer questions right now. So also, It took years to make my essence marks, and I have 90 days to do this. So, and then she gets into like, okay, explain to me what you're doing to make sure everyone still thinks the Emperor is alive. And Gatona's like, don't worry about it. We're doing everything we need to do. And she's like, I don't trust you to be good at deception. So why don't you go ahead and run it past me real quick? And Gatona's like, we are politicians. Come on. She's like, fine, but you're sending food, right? He's like, of course. 3 meals a day are sent in, even though he can't actually eat anything. He drinks broth when prompted. It's like, okay, in the chamber pot? He's like, yeah, we have cloth diapers. It's like, no one changes a fake chamber pot? Do you think that's not going to look suspicious? People are going to start talking. The Emperor's chamber pot never comes out.
Just imagine that conversation down in the kitchens among the scullions and everything. It's like, man, have you heard? The Emperor hasn't shit in like a week.
Yeah. I mean, that is suspicious, though, like, because the only way that could really be happening is if he were, like, in normal circumstances, is if he were dead. It's like, yeah, he's not pooping. Nobody's eating that food. He's dead.
What's he doing? Like, he's in mourning. So what, he's crapping out the window?
Yeah. It's like, I can't even get it in this pot. I hate my life.
It's like, what do they do now? Who do they send in to go, okay, it's your turn to go in the chamber pot?
And so she starts giving him ideas. Like, look, make it a new rule. Like, nobody can go into the Emperor's quarters unless they have this card that you've personally signed. That way, you know that nobody's going to accidentally get in there. Your security is not good enough. I had to study it when I was breaking in here. And the assassins who got to your Emperor and killed his wife clearly prove that your security is not good enough. So let's improve that. How about? I have no doubt that I'll end up back in my cell waiting for my execution if something gets out, if word gets out about what happened to him. And Gatona's like, yeah, okay, fine. What else do you suggest? So somebody's appreciating her abilities. Day 17, she's in her room working, and through the cracks in the warped windows, she can smell unfamiliar spices on the air. There's a holiday happening. And apparently the Heritage faction just keeps digging up ancient holidays to make the people like them. That's one way to go. But we found out that doesn't even really matter because they don't do popular elections. It's only like the only votes that count are the ones from the arbiters of the other factions.
Maybe they're just genuinely trying to make people happy.
Yeah, that could be it. I don't know that Frava would do anything that's not in her own best interest, but who knows about the others? And she's reading his journals, and the part where he's like, okay, I'm gonna at long last agree to the demands of my faction and offer myself as emperor. And that's when we get the part where it's like Gautona had encouraged him to try to seek the throne, and then later he speaks of Gautona with contempt. Why? The arbiters, I like, after that one arbiter the last time was like, but we're supposed to burn the journals, and everyone just stares him down. And this part,
that's
like,
why you're not a named character.
Exactly, yeah. He's Jimmy now. That's all it matters. But they brought her the journals, and they've made these excuses up for themselves. Where it's like, well, he's not technically dead, so it's okay for us not to listen to his orders to burn this stuff. Like, whatever gets you there, man, just bring it. And so she's learning about the Emperor through his journals, and nobody seems to understand why he would have made them. Like, why make them? Just have them burned. If not for posterity, then why even write so much? And she's thinking the same thing. Like, why would she sees that he wrote them for himself because he goes back and reads them. She can tell from the way that they're very worn. And so she's like, was he vain, trying to enjoy the thrill of past conquests, or was he insecure? Was there a different reason? And then Frava shows up and once again starts out trying to neg, like, oh, I'm told you're progressing at an unremarkable pace. And Shai's like, actually, I'm going real quick. I'm ready to start making stamps. This is like crazy fast. By the way, still, I need a test subject. And she's like, yeah, we'll get there. And they discuss the seal on the table. She's like, oh, why wouldn't you put this on the bottom so that no one would see it? She's like, well, I'm proud of my work. Because this is basically like, if she's an artist, this is her signature, right? So if she's trying to trick somebody, then yeah, maybe you want to hide it. But that's not what she's doing here. But nobody gets that she considers herself an artist, despite the fact that she says it outright all the time. Apparently, forgery, the training for forgery starts out like with every other kind of forgery. Stamps, soul stamps are like the last thing that you learn. They're very powerful. They're very versatile, but you can't ever completely hide what was done because the seal is always going to be there. So it's a double-edged sword, the soul stamp process. Frava sends Zu out, and once he's gone, calls him simple-minded, which, yeah, that's nice. And Frava's like, so, has it occurred to you that it might be useful for the Emperor to listen to certain people when they had something to say? And Shai's like, well, I mean, surely the Emperor already did that. Frava's like, yeah, I mean, sometimes, but other times he could be belligerently foolish. Wouldn't it be amazing if upon his rebirth he were found lacking that tendency? She's like, but I thought you wanted him just like he used to be. Frava's like, yeah, but I mean, you're such a great forger. I love how she's constantly like belittling her and then turning around and be like, but you're so good.
Yeah, this particular arbiter is not very good at, like, I feel like subterfuge at all.
Well, yeah, and Shai's like, she's willing to just come right out and say it. She wants me to build a back door into the Emperor's soul, and she just doesn't even have the decency to feel ashamed about it. And so Shai's like, I mean, maybe I could do something like that if somebody was going to make it worth my while. And Frava's like, well, the city has a thriving clandestine smuggling trade, and I could really use somebody being in charge of it that would work with me. So, I could set you up as the smuggler queen of the city or whatever.
It's the kind of thing where I'm like, what would Boba Fett do?
Boba Fett would probably take it.
I don't think so. Not the new Boba Fett. Not the Boba Fett on Disney Plus.
Well, I mean, he took Jabba's, which was essentially the same thing.
Yeah, but he wasn't offered it. He took it.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, nobody's just handing it to him. That's a good point. He walked in and shot what's his name, or killed, did whatever. I don't even remember that scene because that was the end of the Mandalorian. But
it was the whole thing.
Bib Fortuna, that's the guy's name. Took me a minute.
Yep, he's a Telic.
And Shai's just like, this. See, this is the kind of shit that I have to deal with. People just assume that because we both, like, smuggling and forging, it's basically the same thing, right? Because they both disobey our laws. So a criminal's a criminal, right? Forget that Shai spent like her entire life studying very hard and loves what she does, the art of what she does. It's like, oh, you want to be a smuggler, right? All right, whatever. But she can't just say that to Frava. So she's like, oh yeah, that sounds nice. And she thinks that she's been waiting for days for somebody to show up and make this offer. But only now that it's made does she realize that what it means in the grand picture. Because as far as Frava knows, Shai had never even thought of building in like a secret back door to the Emperor's soul to allow someone to control him. But now she's put that idea in there. So she will assume that Shai will create a back door for herself. It's very like programmer coding sort of situation. And so that means that Frava probably has another forger standing by to look over what Shai does and spot any little tricks that she puts in there. Maybe even finish the job if Shai gets far enough along. So now, at any moment, they might decide she's far enough along and decide to go ahead and kill her and let the other forger finish the job, which puts the whole new spin on her situation. And I do like, that was day 17 when she's like, yeah, I'm pretty much ready to make stamps. I need you to provide a test subject. It is day 30 before we get to the point where she gets her test subject. So I feel like that's on the arbiters. You guys are delaying it at this point. But in the meantime, Gautona's like, oh, that's a nice new stained glass window you seem to have installed in your room. And she'd been fighting with this window for a while, trying thing after thing to make this like bent, cracked window that lets a cold breeze in actually work and be something decent. But it wasn't until she found a piece of stained glass shoved in the side that she realized originally it was a stained glass window that had broken and somebody had repaired with just regular glass. So instead, she stamps it so that it had a master craftsman replace the fallen stained glass window. And the seal had taken, unlike all the other tries she had made. Even after all this time, the window had seen itself as something beautiful. Or maybe she was just getting romantic again. And she tells Gautona, hey, you said you're going to bring me a test subject today, as she's finishing off some soul stamps. So at the end of making every soul stamp, you flip it around and you put a mark on the back to indicate that the stamp is done, no more carving is to come. And Shai had always fancied it looked like the shape of my pawn, her homeland, which does not seem like it can be a coincidence that all Aeons start with a drawing of Erelon, and now all soul stamps are finished with a mark that she thinks is shaped like her homeland, where this magic comes from. So now it makes you wonder, it's like, oh, so are those Decor monks? Is there like a picture of Fjordle in their bones somewhere?
Sure.
When Shuden is doing his Che-Shan dance, is he like making the shape of the country somewhere in there?
What's the Jindo country called again?
It may just be called Jindo. Hold on, let me look at the map. Elantris. Nope, that's the map of Erelon. That's not what I wanted. There it is. It is called, Jindo.
Okay.
It's right beneath the Duladel. So Gautona's like, hey, yep, I brought you a test subject. It's me. And Shai's like, no, it's not. You're like one of the most important people in the country. What are you talking about? And Gautona says that the arbiters debated for weeks, trying to determine who it should be, but in the end, they decided they could not, in good conscience, allow someone else to have to undergo this blasphemy. It had to be one of them. And Shai's like, bullshit. Frava would have no trouble ordering someone else to do this. You must have insisted. She doesn't say that, but that's what she's thinking. And she's like, all the rest of them think of him as a rival. They're probably more than happy to see him have to suffer through these horrible, twisted acts. It was going to be completely harmless, but there was no way they would believe that. So she has to explain, look, none of these are going to take. They're not going to stick, basically. The human soul is different from an object. A person is growing and changing all the time. Even in the best case scenario, a stamp only lasts about a day. My essence marks, for example, every 26 hours, I have to restamp or they fade away. So if everything works right, the Emperor is going to have to be stamped again each morning, kind of like the Blood Sealer does to her door. But she's going to make it so he's able to grow and learn and add new stuff in the way that she writes this soul for him. But eventually, once he is up and going, he will probably even just be able to do it himself, she says. So each of these stamps is like a little piece, a small thing about the Emperor's past that she wants to know if she's figured out correctly. She basically says, think of the whole scroll the whole soul rather, as a big scroll, and each of these little bits is like a character in the big long scroll. And then she has to tell him, look, I suggest you spread some rumors that he was hurt, maybe like a knock to the head, because I'm going to do the best I can, but there's no way that I can know about every conversation he's had. He's not going to remember things that there's no way for me to know. So he's going to have an excuse for that. And I'm going to program him essentially so that he can fake it. I'm good at that. But faking can only get you so far. So she takes one of the stamps and she does the thing where she shoves it in and twists it. And it feels even weirder on a person because it kind of feels like she's pushing into stone, it says. It leaves like this red seal behind and a puff of like red smoke comes off, which only happens when living things are stamped, apparently. The soul fights against rewriting. And so she's like, okay, so speak by instinct. Don't think about this. What's your favorite color? He says green. And she says, why? And he's like, well, because it is. Which is probably the answer most people would give if you ask them why that's their favorite color. It's like, well, because that's my favorite. I don't know. And she's like, okay, what about your brother? And Gautona's like, I hardly remember him. He died when I was very young. And Shai says, it's good he did. He would have made a terrible emperor if he'd been chosen. And Gautona jumps up. Don't you dare speak ill of him. I'll have you. Wait, what? The seal fades away. And she's like, 1 minute, 5 seconds. That's good. she'd said that basically if they last a minute, then that's a good indication that she's gotten it right. And Galtona's like, this is so weird. I can remember having a brother, but I've never had a brother. And she's like, yeah, it'll fade away. And she says, I think you reacted too strongly to me insulting your brother's memory. Ashravan worshipped his brother, but kept his feelings buried deep out of guilt that his brother might have made a better emperor than him. And Galtona's like, what, really? Are you sure? She's like, about this? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to revise this a little bit, but clearly this one is mostly right. Galtona's like, geez, you know a lot about people. And she says it's one of the early steps of our training. So apparently that's an important thing in forgery, is being trained to figure people out, which makes sense. And once again, he gets that look from her, or she gets that look from him rather, where he's like, oh, he's thinking about how I'm wasting my life with this blah, 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 whatever. How dare he look at me like that? And she's like, okay, let's try another one. And he says, okay, I'm confused about one thing. From the little bit you've explained to me about this, I can't understand why these things would even work on me a little bit. And she's like, yeah, it's about plausibility. He's like, but this is not plausible. I don't have a brother. And she's like, so it has to do with familiarity. You've spent a lot of time with the Emperor. Your soul is familiar with his. So when I give you this piece, it's like I'm exposing your soul to something that it should know. It only works if the piece is very small. But as long as your soul considers it a familiar piece of Ashravan, then the stamp will take for a little bit. And she's like, I assume this all sounds like superstitious nonsense to you. He's like, well, I mean, yeah, kind of. A soul understanding the concept of another soul.
I mean, it is an interesting form of spirituality. Like, how does that... Like, I know you, but what constitutes you versus your soul? You know? Is your innermost being your soul, and then what I know of you is your personality, or is your personality and your soul inherently intertwined? You know, it's a weird meta thing.
It is weird. I agree.
Again, the easiest is shit.
Yeah. No, that's
Schrodinger's cat. There, I can throw out stuff too.
But this is where she's like, look, whether or not you believe the explanation, it boils down to, if I try these on you and they stick for at least a minute, it's a good indication that I'm close. Ideally, I'd try it on the Emperor himself, but he wouldn't be able to answer questions, and I need to have questions answered if I'm going to figure out this stuff. So she tries another one, and it evaporates right away, and she's like, damn it. I must have got that one completely wrong. And he says, what was it? And she says, the reason Ashravan agreed to become Emperor. I was certain I had that one right. And she thought it was a deep-seated desire to prove himself to his family and to escape the distant shadow of his brother. And Galtona's like, well, I can tell you why. He wanted to change things in the Empire. And she goes, well, he doesn't speak of that in his journal. And he says, well, he was a humble guy. And she's like, that doesn't really jive with what I've read. Like, oh, well, no, I mean, deep down, he had a temper, and he would argue the shit out of something to get his point made. But deep down, he was a humble man, and you need to understand that about him. And she's like, I see. And in the back of her head, you did the same thing to him, didn't you? This look of disappointment, the implication that we should be better people than we are. And then she thinks, you're genuine, aren't you, old man? And there's this side track about how in her business, people laughed at honest men, calling them easy pickings, but not really true. A dishonest fool and an honest fool were equally easy to scam. You just went about it differently. But an honest, clever man was always more difficult than someone who was dishonest and clever, because sincerity, by definition, was so hard to fake. And Galtona's like, what are you thinking? And she says, well, I was thinking that you must have treated the Emperor the same way you did me. You do me, annoying me with constant nagging about what he should accomplish. And Galtona's like, yeah, no, I probably did, actually. Doesn't mean I was wrong. He could have become more than he did, just as you could become a marvelous artist. And she goes, I am one. And he says, a real one. And she goes, I am one. And he brushes it off again. And then they get into a discussion about the painting, the one with the mistakes that they found in her room. And he's like, I couldn't see the mistakes, but they're there, which in hindsight is kind of weird because everything about it is so perfect. Why would you have made a mistake like putting the moon too low when you got each brush stroke basically exactly right? And she's like, she does not say anything. And he's like, the painting they think is the original one is actually a fake too, huh? And she says, yeah, I swapped the paintings a few days before trying for the scepter as part of investigating palace security. And he's like, so the one that they think is fake, that's the original, and you painted the mistakes over it, right? And she goes, no, I have used that trick in the past, actually. But no, they're both fakes. One is just like the obvious fake. So Gautona thinks the original's still hidden somewhere. You snuck into the palace, replaced it, left a worse fake in your room so that if you were found out, search your room, find the bad copy, and assume you hadn't made the switch yet. Okay, that makes sense. Very clever. And if you were captured sneaking into the palace to steal the scepter, you could confess to trying to steal the painting, and that's a much less bad crime, a lesser crime, stealing from an individual rather than trying to steal an imperial relic. You would have gotten 10 years of labor instead of a death sentence. Yeah, okay, that's a big difference. And he's like, okay, but where's the original painting? It's still in the palace, isn't it? And she goes, kinda. And he looks at her smiling, and she goes, I burned it. And the smile vanishes immediately. You lie. Not this time, old man. Painting wasn't worth the risk to get it out of the gallery. I was just testing security, got the fake in easily. People aren't searched going in, only coming out. So after I replaced it, I tossed the original one into one of the main hearths.
Just back to that, you being searched on the way out, not the way in. Does that mean you could easily, you can smuggle stuff in? Surely if you're getting into the palace, they would not want you to bring a whole bunch of stuff in.
Right?
Like potentially materials that you could assassinate the emperor with.
Maybe that's how it happened. They just snuck in a bunch of crossbows under their cloaks and no one gave a shit.
Silly security system.
Yeah.
Yes, please don't pass through our metal detectors on the way in. No need. On the way out, though.
Bring what weapons you like. Just don't steal our stuff.
Yeah. Just pinky
don't
swear
leave
you're
with
not
the
going to
weapons.
kill the emperor, and you're welcome to bring whatever you want in. Gautona is outraged. That was an original Xu Shen, his greatest masterpiece. He's gone blind and can no longer paint. Why would you do that? She goes, it doesn't matter. No one's ever going to know.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, because I wanted to. It's fun.
And he goes, you swapped it just for pride. You don't care about selling the original. You just wanted your copy hanging in the gallery instead. And she just shrugs it off and thinks to herself there's other reasons, but she's not going to say. And he's like, we're done for today. I'd begun to think, bah, and stalks out. She was starting to get in there in his good graces. This did not help. I like day 42. I don't know why I'm like, was this a call out to the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with 42? I don't know. Each person was a puzzle. That was how Tao, her first trainer in forgery, had explained it. Any grime-covered urchin can scam someone. A forger had to create something so perfect, so beautiful, so real that the witness never even questioned. Respect the people you lie to, he taught her. There's all sorts of fun little tips in here. But basically, it gets to, she's getting so into trying to write Ashravan's soul that she's really wanting to succeed. She's writing a history of him based on everything she's found, a truer history than his biographers, even a truer history than his own journals. He had been idealistic, but he wanted to change things in the empire, but changing stuff is hard, basically. People suffered the empire's rule because they were comfortable with the little tyrannies. Corruption was inevitable. You lived with it. It was either that or accept the chaos of the unknown. The most lucrative and prestigious occupations were often more about bribes and connections than about skill or aptitude. Yeah, that happens. Everyone knew these things, and Ashravan had wanted to change them at first, and I love this note that it's like, look, a poet would point to this one flaw that had led to his downfall. But a person is more than just one flaw, just like they're more than one passion. You can't base everything on one attribute, or she'd be creating a mockery, not a man. And she didn't want that. There's a whole thing where she's like, maybe I should shoot for that. Maybe I should just explain to them, like, I can make the emperor work in, like, public, but in private it's going to be obvious that he's not who he was. Maybe it's good enough to. But she doesn't want to make the dime store version of the Emperor's Soul. She finds the challenge thrilling. She wants to make him live again. And then she thinks to herself, why do you even care? The Arbiters are going to kill you before you ever get to see whether it works or not. But she'd chosen to steal the Moon Scepter because it was the most famous piece in the Empire, and she wanted one of her works on display in the Imperial Gallery. But this is even better. A forgery on the rose, sitting on the Rose Throne itself. And then she's like, no, don't be lured by your pride. We get a little note about the Blood Sealer. Sometimes he's late, and the other day he'd been so late that he'd come running smelling of strong drink. If she could make him come early one morning and then ensure he got extra drunk that night, maybe the seal would disappear before
Yep.
he came back.
Maybe.
The strikers, who are her guards, remember, apparently the mountains where they're from borders the swamps where the blood sealers are from, and their hatred of one another runs deep. So she's like, there's got to be some way I can use this. The strikers weren't supposed to talk to Shai, but weeks had passed with her doing nothing more interesting than poring over old books and chatting with arbiters. So the guards were bored, and boredom made people easy to manipulate. You see how right Gautona was to be like, I can't just leave you with guards. Clearly.
Yeah, she's definitely not to be
They might
trusted.
talk.
Yeah. She's sitting here like,
There we go.
yeah, so easy to manipulate. She has lots of soulstone, but elementary methods were of greater use. People always expect a forger to use seals for everything. But a soul stamp was often the last resort, too easy to detect. So she's trying to figure out other techniques that she can use to try to get herself out of here. If she had her essence marks, it would be easy, but don't have those. And she even thought about trying to make a new one, but basically there's no way she could get away with that. Testing on herself would be instantly noticed, and trying to use one without testing first was a very bad plan. So her escape plans would use soul stamps, but their heart would involve more traditional methods of subterfuge. And that's the end of our section. So I like that's a very dramatic place to leave off, where she's like, I'm going to have to use other methods. So yeah, we are all the next chapter is 58. So we're going to be passing that halfway point of the 100 days, basically. So her job's about half done. What do you think? Let's do predicaments. What is going to happen?
I honestly have no idea. I feel like there's gonna be some conflict. I don't know. I feel like she's gonna try and turn people, and she's gonna maybe find an ally in the blood sealer somehow, and then she'll find some way to betray him by the end. Because she obviously despises him and his methods, but she might be able to lean on the fact that both of their methods are hated by the arbiters, so maybe she'll be able to turn him to her side, and then because she hates him, she'll kill him at the end. But yeah, I honestly have no idea where this is going or how it's all going to pan out. So I'm just kind of sitting back and enjoying the ride on this one.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It's hard to. I like this idea where it's like we're both outsiders here, man. Maybe, and I kind of like the symmetry of the story. We come in after she's been betrayed by the person she was working with, and then she creates this relationship and then betrays them at the end of the story. That would be it's very symmetrical in that way.
Yeah.
I don't really know what to think. What did I talk about last time? I want to stick with whatever my guns were last time. Do you remember?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. So if you want to hear my predicaments, go to the last episode and listen to those predicaments there. No, I think that she's gonna be able to do the soul thing. She's gonna end up doing it, I think, for the challenge more than anything else, and then it's gonna be successful. But at the same time, it's gonna be like it's not going to be what they like good for the country. It's gonna end up being bad, and she's going to have to escape probably, because they're definitely still going to try to kill her. Although maybe Gautona would save her at the end, who knows? But I think we're going to find out that Gautona, maybe Gautona and the Emperor didn't get along very well near the later in life, because the Emperor had become maybe too prideful, and this whole business is going to kind of sour the relationship between the arbiters and the Emperor, because they're going to know they have this puppet, but it's just not really going to work out the way they intended. I think it's all going to come crumbling down around them.
The thing about Gautona would fit what we heard this time, at least, where it's like, your idea makes sense, because it's like if he's given him these looks, like expecting him to be better, and the Emperor's gotten very proud and like self-important in his position, it's like, who the fuck are you to be looking at me like that? I'm the Emperor, damn it.
Any man who must say I am the king is no true king.
Yeah, well, and it's the old, it's the age-old tale. Power corrupts. It's like total power or complete power corrupts completely. That old chestnut. So once he's in a position of power, his friend saying, you should be doing this, and he's like, I'm the emperor, I'm gonna do what I want. So yeah, I just kind of see that playing out. So maybe this whole thing will be good. It'll kind of snap him back to being Gautona's friend, and maybe Gautona will be really grateful for that. I don't know.
Tale as old as time. Song
Yeah.
as old as rhyme.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yep.
Maybe but who knows? Maybe Gautona's got his own agenda. It doesn't seem that way. He seems like a stand-up guy, but maybe not. He did use the blood guy on her, so he can't be all that cool.
Yeah, seems pretty shady.
Okay, so I didn't have a lot last time, but maybe have a bit more this time. It's like they're kind of setting Frava up to be this big bad. And when she came in and was all like, maybe we could control him. Wouldn't it be nice if he just was a little more, able to be bent to our will? I feel at first I was like, oh my goodness, I reckon she put the hit out, and maybe only the Emperor's wife was supposed to be killed or something, and this is kind of all changed, or maybe this was always the purpose, and she's behind the assassination attempt rather than having one of our other factions involved. But then I thought maybe that's a bit easy. So she's just taking advantage of this terrible situation. There's something in the journals. I mean, the journals were supposed to be burnt upon his death. He didn't want anyone else reading them. So the fact that we've got someone else reading them now, there's something in there, I think, that maybe he doesn't want found out. I had sort of thought maybe he was already a forger or something. He's got some dirty, dark secret. I don't know what that's going to be yet. Maybe Gautona knows what it is as well, and they're trying to. That's why you would test everything on him as well, maybe to see like if anything did come out that was undesirable. He would already know what was going on in the testing rather than having someone else involved. But yeah, I'm not sure what his dirty little secret is, but I think there's something in there that is no one's supposed to know, and that's going to come out. Maybe Gautona is a forger and is playing completely dumb, and it's all written in this journal or something, and no one knows what's about to hit them. Because I can't remember which one she got wrong. She thought she'd pinned it was why he became the emperor or something. She thought she'd figured it out, and then it was completely wrong. So maybe there's something in there that she hasn't quite hit the nail on the head, and has got to do a bit more digging. But yeah, I think definitely we've got more significance to this journal and Gautona as well. And I don't know what yet. Maybe next week.
I love the idea of Gautona, the secret forger. That sounds awesome. And we find out he's just playing dumb the whole time and she's explaining stuff he already knows. That'd be great.
Yeah. Be a bit fun.
Okay. I guess we got like 2 emails this time.
Yeah.
So let's hit those real quick. First one's from Jesse, who says, "Hey, Sanderlanche team, found your podcast recently and have been loving the Hero of Ages episodes. Your commentary helped me get through the slower parts and highlight things that I probably would not have noticed on my own. I've read Warbreaker, Mistborn Era 1, and now Secret History, and I feel like at this point, this is the point where I'm really starting to understand the scope of the Cosmere, and it's really exciting. I was wondering what your schedule for the remaining books in the Cosmere is, including the novellas, and also seeking your advice about where to fit in Elantris. I'm eager to start Way of Kings, and was planning to wait on Elantris until after Rhythm of War." Okay, and sorry, she goes into some more details about like Stormlight and Elantris and wanting some advice on where to put that. Thank you. I like that you're enjoying what you've got so far. And clearly we went to Elantris after Hero of Ages for the show. If you're eager to start Stormlight, I don't think that you're going to miss out on too much by not reading Elantris. But honestly, it's so standalone that you could stick it in almost anywhere you feel like you want it and not be too badly off.
That sounded dirty.
I have reasons why I put it here, partly because just chronologically, like I probably would have put it first because it's his first novel and it happens earlier than Mistborn, if I hadn't wanted to start with what I felt was like the stronger book in Final Empire for beginning the show. But it can really go just about anywhere. It's not Elantris is not that big a deal. There's some other pieces where it's like you would want to read Warbreaker before you started Stormlight, but you've done that, so that's no big deal.
Wow, I wonder how it would have felt if he had started Elantris first.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a very different show, I feel like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Not nearly as many Futurama references.
We've gotten to that later, and it's like, man, where are all these Futurama references coming from?
Mm-hmm.
But thank you, Jesse. I'm gonna send you an email with some more detail. I'm not sharing our whole plan yet because I feel like that's part of the fun if people aren't sure exactly where we're going next.
Yeah.
But I will give you some of my thoughts in email.
It's so much fun, let me tell you. I can't stop smiling.
Our other email is from Tom. I've noticed fewer emails read on the show lately, maybe because you're batch recording multiple weeks episodes to account for holidays. And I keep meaning to send you one every time I listen, but my Mondays are so hectic I end up forgetting every time. I hope you guys enjoyed the holidays and New Year. I really appreciate the dedication in getting the show out nearly every week, especially Dak and Jamie with their little one. I work from home pretty much every day and have 3 young children who love to interrupt me at work when it's clear that I'm not paying them enough attention, so I absolutely empathize. I personally feel it's a fun addition whenever the baby gets a hold of the mic. Yeah, the baby is fun. When my little ones run in and want attention, it's a lot louder. So I feel bad about that, and then it takes me a lot longer to wrangle them than it does for Jamie to be like, shh, it's okay. But thanks.
Yeah.
You guys will get there eventually too, so it'll be interesting. She'll be running around and yelling for mommy and daddy in no time.
Yeah. Yeah, buddy of
I mean,
mine.
realistically, thank God for the mute function.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's usually very loud, and right now I'm trying to put her to sleep in my arms. She's literally just about to dummy on the floor and is looking at lights and crying, and it's fun. It's good.
He says, I'm so excited to hear that the next major piece you're reading is The Emperor's Soul. Hey, we're there. I would have to agree with the apparent general consensus among Cosmere fans that it's one of my favorite standalone pieces Sanderson has written. I'm looking forward to revisiting it vicariously through you guys. I'll be particularly interested in what Joe thinks of it after he's finished, since I've pegged him as the does this story stand on its own guy of the group. Anyway, hope you're doing well and staying warm, Northern Hemisphere people at least. The Aussies are probably doing just fine this time of year. And as long as now that they've got an AC that works, yeah.
Yeah. This is the first week that it's actually been really cold.
True.
Dropped below freezing for the first time since, I guess, this winter. So
Yeah.
it hasn't been very cold. We had a record high December. So
Hands with regards from Tom. P.S. Data, I don't really play cards, and I probably will never meet you face to face, but I already know never to play against you in poker. You must have quite the poker face with the way you handle spoilery theories that come up in the discussions. Your response to the keen crushed throat theory had me dying. Keep up the good work.
he's pretty good at poker. He's also pretty good at Yu-Gi-Oh.
I do like poker. I enjoy that. I think I've mentioned before, is I apparently have an issue in that, like, whenever we'd play the social deduction games, like Secret Hitler or whatever, I just always get assumed to be the bad guy immediately and eliminated first.
It does happen quite a bit.
And so it's like, I play exactly the same way, whether I'm the good guy or the bad guy. But apparently that way is he's suspicious. He's the bad guy. Get him. So I don't know.
We were playing Among Us today, and I feel like you might do better on that because the rounds are pretty short. So it's like it's not as daunting. You know, you can play the same way several times. People will finally start to realize, oh, okay, he's not the evil guy every time.
I used to play Town of Salem online a lot, kind of when it first came out. That's fun. I don't know if you ever played that. It's like Mafia, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what Among Us is as well.
So that was online is always different because people can't see your face and stuff.
Can't see your devious face.
Exactly.
In all its deviousness.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate the emails, guys. If anyone else would like to send us emails, the address is thesanderlanche@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and all the kinds of places where things happen on the interwebs.
Where good times are had.
Oh,
Yeah.
Music by Miracle Sound. Get that out there before I go on to for next time. We are reading a big old chunk of this story for next time. Let me find exactly the count here. We are reading the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, which are 58, 59, 70, 76, 85, and 97.
Ooh.
for Dak's question, the next day after 97 is 98. So that's where you're going to stop. Is if you hit 98, that's where you pause.
Effing Windows 98.
So that is, as you might imagine, the majority of what is left in this book.
I was gonna say, like, that's
Or the
coming close
story.
to the end there.
Yep. I mean, does she make it all the way to day 100? I don't know. We'll have to find out.
Next time on the Sanderlanche.
But a lot of
I
these
need something
sections,
else at the end there.
a lot of these sections are so small that those 6 chapters are actually a shorter section of text than the 4 we read this time. So, and this is going to be one of our shortest episodes ever, I think, based on the recording time. So,
Well, we could just cut in a bunch of extra stuff. Like, cut in all that stuff that at the beginning where we were chatting up. And
I can't cut in more than what's recorded, and so it's like I said, based on recording time, it's already going to be possibly the shortest one we've done.
Well, let's do a little bit right now. Well, I'm on the spot now, so this was a bad idea.
It's fine. We can have a short episode now and then. It's not a big deal.
All right. Wait, was there like a Vin or Sir type relationship in Elantris? I guess like Serene
Aish
and
Serene?
Aish. Yeah.
Although they had a long-standing relationship. It's not like they just met and became friends.
Right.
If you're talking about just met and became friends, it's more Rowden and Galadon.
Yeah. That's a lot of syllables though.
Raladon. Serene and Aish could be Saish. Or Sash. Just Sash.
Yeah. Well, anyway, next time in Jerusalem.
So yes, there are 2 more episodes left in this in the Emperor's Soul. So 6 chapters for next time, and then a couple more after that. So come back for that, everyone. I hope you are enjoying our coverage of this novella. And
Coverage.
we're gonna move
Like we're at a
straight
news
into
studio.
something else interesting after that.
Chopper 5 Action News here with the latest on the novella, The Emperor's Soul. Looks like our friend, whose name I can't remember, is having a tough time figuring out how she's going to escape. What do you think's going to happen, Rick?
My name is Shai.
Yeah, Shai. Rick, you there? Am I here by myself?
Thanks, Rick.
Dak is supposed to improv something there, like the possible.
I don't know.
You got to do an American voice.
Yeah. Well, let's see here, Johnny. I don't know quite what's going to happen here. But, well, I'm sure whatever's going to happen is going to be
This
really
isn't-
interesting.
This
Someone's
isn't
gonna die,
Avatar.
It's going to be all over the place.
This isn't Avatar Avatar Korra
Legend
here.
of Korra.
Yeah, Legend of Korra.
Yep.
Oh my.
Hey, you told me to
Okay.
do an American accent, so I did an American accent.
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
That was a Republic City accent.
What does it sound like when you just flatten your voice? Like, just do it American.
He's done the
style.
American accent before, and you were like, "Hey, that's
Oh,
really good American."
I want to hear it.
I don't know. It depends on what you want me to say.
She brews a proper cup of coffee in a copper coffee pot.
She brews a copper cup of coffee and a blah, blah, blah.
I don't
I'm not
say
gonna-
blah blah.
I'm not
blah.
going to get all these words. I'll figure it out someday. I don't know.
Someday.
Thank you, everyone. Buzzing to the time of next. Hello.